it's bad. It's bad. Tell me about fishing. So you obviously, I watched an amazing video of you going out fishing in the summer, and then you also spoke earlier about ice fishing. So what sort of fish are you catching, and then is it enough that you can then not live off the fish, but there must be a sufficient amount of stock that you can, have a lot of fish for dinner and stuff.
Yes. Generally, rod catching isn't what you live off. If it is in fresh water, then you're normally going for trout or Arctic char. Yeah, that's like Norwegians are very limited with their freshwater catch. It's pretty much only about trout and salmon that goes up the river. Salmon has a very high prestige in this country, and so it's not much about eating. It's more about like the sport that I don't particularly understand that. But we do have fishing rides in 2 lakes here where I can use nets. So I'm going net fishing for trout and Arctic char, which is very much enough to supply our fish meals. Only from that, the fishing for trout has gone down here a lot. It's much less attractive to people than it has been 50 years ago, where it was actually part of supplying food. So the numbers of fish in these lakes are very, very high. It basically doesn't make a dent if I would take out 40, 50 kilos of trout. So it really doesn't make any difference. And sea fishing, due to the current in this part of the fjord, is a bit complicated because you constantly, like we only had a rowboat, so I constantly ended up 20 kilometers from where I actually started. And then fishing at the same time while rowing is kind of complicated. But you have pollock, which is fairly present around this part here, and also haddock. So the whitefish will be able to supply you. If you have a rod with like 3, 4, 5 hooks, you may be able to hook one pollock and on each hook, so you may be getting 30, 40 kilos of fish with one throw if you hit the swarm. So there's a lot of time where you don't catch anything, but if you do catch, then it's enough for a very long time. Next year I'm gonna try myself on some eel. Generally Norwegians, they like the nice things, so the salmon fillet or having a trout. But if it comes to the stuff that's not as visually appealing, there's not much competition here. And I've been smoking the trout, cold smoking it, and I think the eel cold smoked is also going to be pretty nice. So yeah, fish is definitely not a problem here. And ice fishing in winter is more for the fun of it, because obviously I have been putting a net under the ice. That was quite a tricky thing. It did get me some fish, but it's not as much as you would have in an autumn day. So that's more sitting on the ice, having a coffee, fishing a little on the side.
How do you ice fish? Do you have to like cut a hole in the ice and then put like a rod in or a net in?
Yeah, you have an ice auger, so there's kind of a drill. So you drill in a hole, and you have a much smaller ice fishing rod, which is just like, let's say 30 centimeters of plastic, where you would have often a blinking light on just above the hook. So it would blink in contact with water, and then through that attract fish, and you would use maggot as bait. So yeah, you're just hanging there, maybe a meter 50 under the ice surface, and having the maggots in the water. And it's mainly about numbers. So the more holes, the more rods you have out, the more fun it is.
What's the process behind catching eels? Is it similar to trout, or is there a whole different process behind it?
I have not done it yet. I have planned it for the coming year, because I know there's eel in the lake that we have just in front of the door. But I would assume it would be, I'm not fully sure what's the English word for that, but it's sort of a static net.
Yeah.
That you fill with bait as well. Pretty much similar to crab cages, where you would just fill in a fish. The crabs would go in and wouldn't find the way out again.
I see. And hunting's a big part of life in Norway as well. Have you done much hunting?
I have just done my license last year. So kind of missing the one thing that's somewhat essential to hunting, and that's a gun. So it's not about the registration or the license there, but more about the money, because having a gun requires you also to have a approved gun safe. So you're looking at another maybe 1,500 euros, which is fairly expensive. So I kind of missed this hunting season. But a neighbor brought over a deer that he shot that I smoked, and so we got still our game meat. My father-in-law is also hunting a lot, so isn't a big deal. But I will start actively hunting next year. The thing there is, once again, I'm not a sports hunter. The trophy thing in fishing and hunting is not really mine. But getting food that I know has lived well and is probably more nutritious than what you can buy in the supermarket. That's what I'm aiming for.
What sort of, obviously you're hunting deer. Is there anything else that you're hunting? Is it mostly red or roe deer, or what is it?
Well, it's all of that. So you have the cheapest license you can buy is roe deer, obviously, because the numbers are very high. There is some red deer in this area, but it's fairly limited. So you maybe have for this commune, you maybe have 4 animals you can take out. They are just migrating farther north, as they are a bit more southbound actually. But they do come over Sweden and then go back into the higher northern parts of Norway. And then obviously moose. Moose is also like the most prestigious deer hunt, I would say here. So yeah, moose and roe deer most likely.
Well, that sounds very much like Scotland then, just apart from the moose. But yeah. No, but you seem to have insane numbers of deer, and also having issues with them damaging vegetation. Yeah, that's
right?
correct. Like, do you guys have any wolves or any apex predators? Because there's none of that. We don't have any of that.
Norwegians have been historically very good at shooting everything in sight. So no, unfortunately not. That's obviously why also in Scotland there are issues with the deer numbers. There's not enough hunting going on to balance out the actual predatory impact that you would have on the population. So we have an occasional bear, but as soon as they make it over the Swedish border, there is a hunting team from regions on. I'm not particularly fond of that behavior, but no, it's not much.
Yeah. Tell me about your dog, who looks a bit like a bear. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, you get used to the size. It gets smaller every day. He's called Yuki. He's an Alaskan Malamute, and in general, very good guy to have around. These are very, very social and pack-oriented animals from the sledding purposes. Very good companion. He has just one flaw, and that's he enjoying to hunt. So in Norway, you have a mandatory leash period for dogs, which is going from the beginning of the reproduction season of the game. So from, I think, April to September. So in that time, you need to keep your dog
always
on a leash by law. Anyways.
Wow.
Always.
Interesting.
And especially in regards to being out in areas where there is domestic reindeer, it's obviously, the indigenous population here that does the reindeer herding has the allowance to shoot dogs if they're going after the reindeer. So you prefer to keep your dog on a leash, especially he likes roe deer hunting. So he's coming back, but no, it's good to have him on a leash in summer.
Manipulate how
And in winter,
how long the lead needs to be. So could it be like a? So
No,
I saw on a video that you have quite a long lead. So he does just go about, but he's always connected to you.
yes, I normally have him on, I think it's 15 meters, and most of the time I do not hold the lead, just so that I have the option to grab it quickly if he runs.
And then in winter,
Sorry.
in winter, I've seen some pretty fun videos of him pulling you on skis. That must be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a very good helper when it comes to skiing. He is a Malamute, so he's more of the strong pulling dog, but not as endurant as an Alaskan or Siberian Husky that you would use for longer distances. So it's fast pulling if he's pulling, and at one point it's just getting tired. And it's the best thing, to be honest, to be two people when skiing, because he will always follow the front person. He's not particularly a leading dog, but if you do have somebody in front, then it's a constant motor. That's a very good.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And the sled dogs, their life is better if they do get the energy out pulling, following the genetic drive to just pull for a few hours and then being a very balanced dog afterwards.